Trump is pulling out all the stops for his trillionaire friend, who also happens to be doing business with Don Jr. and Eric.
Is it appropriate, Mr. President, for your family to be doing business in Saudi Arabia while you're president? Is that a conflict of interest? And Your Royal Highness, the U.S. intelligence concluded that you orchestrated the brutal murder of a journalist. 9/11 families are furious that you are here in the Oval Office. Why should Americans trust you? And the same to you, Mr. President.
Now, who are you with?
I'm with ABC News, sir.
You with who?
ABC News, sir.
Fake news.
That was Mary Bruce of ABC News doing what reporters are supposed to do. Mary Bruce didn't back down. She's like, oh, you don't like the questions about the murder? All right, then what about the Epstein files?
Why wait for Congress to release the Epstein files? Why not just do it now?
You know, it's not the question that I mind, it's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter.
I mean, this is a president who appointed a madman to be the nation's health secretary, and who in turn, he has just put like a QAnon conspiracy chat room in charge of the nation's vaccine schedule. This is a president who is selling coins and gold trinkets with his face on them from...
Jimmy Kimmel and Rachel Maddow demolished Trump in a rant that felt like a roast battle wrapped inside a documentary, wrapped inside a war crime. The jokes, deadly. The commentary, surgical. Trump's reaction, somewhere between confused and someone call my lawyer.
New reporting that in addition to seeking more than $200 million for President Trump himself from the U.S. Justice Department, Trump's DOJ is also reportedly considering giving a huge check to Trump's disgraced former national security advisor, the conspiracy theorist Mike Flynn, the one who pled guilty to lying to investigators about his secret communications with the Russian government. Bloomberg reporting that the Trump Justice Department is in talks to give $50 million to Mike Flynn.
Trump's latest blunder practically begged to be turned into comedy, and the crowd didn't even get a chance to prepare before the roasting began. The studio air felt like someone had plugged sarcasm directly into the power grid. Every mention of his decision-making, Kimmel described like an adult trying to convince the world he deserved a trophy for finishing a puzzle he never opened.
Both the House and Senate voted to release the long-withheld files related to a man who considered himself to be Trump's closest friend for more than a decade, the late sex criminal Jeffrey Epstein. The vote in Congress went 427-1. It was such a landslide, Trump might actually be able to rebury the Epstein files.
New reporting in the New York Times that the Trump administration has now stopped the FBI and other Justice Department personnel not only from working on counterterrorism cases, but also the Trump administration has stopped federal law enforcement officers in multiple agencies from working on child sex trafficking and child exploitation cases.
Today sent the bill to the White House. Now, usually when Trump gets a bill, he declares bankruptcy and doesn't pay it. But this one, he's going to have to sign it, or at least he says he's going to sign it, which means there's about maybe a 12% chance he will. Trump hasn't been this nervous about signing something since Don Jr.'s birth certificate.
Move to install at the General Services Administration, the GSA. GSA is in charge of federal real estate. This usually is not a very high-profile agency. But in this administration, we've got the president literally bulldozing the White House and, like, dumping the debris randomly on public golf courses. So all of a sudden, this previously low-profile agency is right at the heart of Trump weirdness and destruction. Trump has reportedly now found a perfect candidate to be a new top lawyer at the GSA. He is reportedly installing there a guy whose nomination for a different job had to be pulled a couple of weeks ago when it emerged that he had said about himself, quote, "I do have a Nazi streak in me."
That was the setup Maddow needed to slice through the spectacle with cold composure. She broke down Trump's reactions like she was reading Yelp reviews of a restaurant that keeps catching on fire but swears business is booming. Her calmness was savage. She didn't need to mimic Trump to mock him. Just describing what he did, filtered through her disbelief, turned into pure comedy.
Who can't persuade the First Lady to live with him. This is a president whose supposed best friend says he should be impeached, and by the way, is in the Epstein files. I mean, this is a president whose approval ratings are more underwater than any other president ever at this point in his term. He has already rushed right to the part where he tries to turn the military against the civilian population, where he tries to turn the force of the American military.
The comedic wave lifted again when Kimmel took Trump's latest public statement and treated it like the trailer for a disaster movie. He brought the drama pacing across the stage like a filmmaker pitching the most ridiculous plot in Hollywood history. Trump, as the main character in his parody narrative, was so doomed, so overconfident, and so proud of zero progress that the visualization itself got a laugh before Kimmel even delivered the punchline. The crowd broke before he even finished the bit. Maddow followed by playing political chess with Trump's logic and leaving him checkmated in 10 seconds without moving a piece. She broke down the contradiction, held it under the spotlight, and examined it like a scientist discovering an extinct creature. Every word she said was dipped in professional disbelief. Her tone suggested that Trump's public statements belonged in a museum exhibit titled "Decisions That Should Never Happen Again." She had the crowd laughing, not because she acted funny, but because Trump made the analysis funny all by himself. Momentum kept building as Kimmel returned and practically sprinted into the joke. He described Trump's resilience like a malfunctioning robot programmed only to say everything's perfect, while sparks shoot out of its head. He used exaggerated facial expressions that turned mockery into art. There was a rhythm to the roasting, jab, jab, knockout, and he delivered with the joy of someone who truly loves their job.
This is here, you see here, trying to kill Roger Rabbit. He says he voted no on principle, as in a principle you don't want near your kid's school. Clay Higgins also voted for David Duke, the former Grand Wizard of the Klan, for governor, so he has a history of solid decision-making. He says his fear is that, as written, the bill...
The slow-down fake-out happened when Maddow reclaimed the screen. She didn't use energy, she used disappointment, and it cut deeper than shouting ever could. She treated Trump's political strategy like software nobody updated since 1998, but somehow still expects to run modern features. Her sarcastic sigh became a meme before she finished the segment. She wrapped the joke inside the analysis, which made the studio laugh before they realized why. Kimmel wasn't ready to let the night calm down. He marched into the next joke and treated Trump's media reactions as if someone kept lighting birthday candles that refused to blow out. The absurdity grew into a rising comedic melody. Trump became the fictional character who insists he's doing great while standing on a sinking ship and complimenting the water temperature. The laughter at that visual alone shook the room. Maddow took Trump's interviews the same way lawyers take confession tapes, with quiet satisfaction. She broke down each reaction like someone unraveling the world's most poorly written essay. Her sarcasm wasn't frantic. It was disciplined. It was the kind that leaves lasting psychological bruises because it doesn't even try to be mean. It just points and says, politely, "This is nonsense." And somehow that became the funniest possible version.
Rushed right to the end because he has no idea how to play cards against opposition to him that is this big, this sustainable, this broad, and this correct. He hasn't done anything as president that would win anyone over to his side. And the number of people who voted for him or supported him otherwise, who are now regretting it, grows by the day. And they don't just go...
The roasting crescendo hit maximum force when Kimmel came back with the final comedic blow, walking through the entire timeline of Trump's week, like recapping the dramatic arc of a reality show contestant who keeps insisting the producers are sabotaging him. Each exaggeration hit like fireworks. Every mock comparison landed with pinpoint precision. The segment didn't feel like a stand-up. It felt like a sporting event where the scoreboard broke because the points wouldn't stop increasing. And then everything settled into a calm, devastating finish when Maddow brought the house down without raising a single decibel. She revisited Trump's choices with the same tone someone might use to explain why touching a hot stove repeatedly is a bad idea. Her final laugh line wasn't loud. It was surgical. She didn't bury him under jokes. She simply held up the evidence of his chaos and let the comedy become self-inflicted. By the time the cameras faded, Trump had unintentionally written the perfect script for television humor. Two different comedic weapons, two wildly different personalities, one consistent outcome. Kimmel with explosive sarcasm, Maddow with icy precision, turning Trump into endless free material without ever needing to collaborate or plan. It wasn't a performance built on mockery for sport. It was mockery built on reality that just happened to be funnier than fiction.
As far as this gentleman is concerned, he's done a phenomenal job. You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
That's right. How dare you embarrass a man who had a columnist sawed into pieces? Things happen. Things happen. This is not an episode of The Sopranos. You're the president of the...
The audience didn't walk out of the broadcast. They floated. What they watched wasn't political commentary. It was premium-grade comedy fueled by a man whose confidence always outweighs his planning. Trump created the chaos. Kimmel and Maddow turned it into television gold. And as long as Trump keeps generating wild moments, they'll never run out of content. because jokes write themselves when the subject refuses to stop. Everyone watching knew the night wasn't supposed to become historic, but the universe had other plans. Trump delivered chaos like it was a subscription service, and the comedic world collected dividends. The recap of his latest interview rolled across the broadcast like a blooper reel disguised as serious television. He explored Trump's excuses like an archaeologist dusting off fossils of denial. The crowd watched him transform every Trump defense into a comedic snowball rolling downhill, getting bigger and more ridiculous with every inch, until it crushed whatever dignity Trump thought he still had left. The punchlines barely ended before the next ones arrived, and no one was ready for any of it.
I mean, seriously, what is that supposed to mean? What would motivate him to post "and so it begins" at almost midnight? What would compel him to contact his social media guy, Dan Scavino, that late at night to say, "Dan, I need you to post "and so it begins." All caps, Mr. President. Yeah, all caps, you idiot. And put a ... in front of it, too.
The sarcasm turned cold again, intentional and strategic. Rachel Maddow didn't need to perform. That was Kimmel's style. She just needed to walk viewers through Trump's contradictions like a guided tour through a poorly built amusement park where every ride shuts down halfway through and the staff insists everything is fine. Her tone was the definition of controlled disbelief, and it made the comedy hit harder because it wasn't even trying to be funny. It simply became funny because of how absurd Trump's political storyline has become. There was no time to recover before Kimmel launched into a fresh meltdown of jokes. He described Trump's self-praise like a motivational poster written by someone who failed every test but still sells confidence seminars. He stretched out each visual metaphor until the studio was gasping for air. Even when he pretended to wrap up, he threw in one more jab, because Trump kept providing more material than one person could responsibly handle. The audience didn't just laugh, they clung to their chairs like they were on an airplane in turbulence. The final pass back to Maddow brought poetic closure without ever sounding sentimental. She unpacked Trump's attempts to rewrite his own recent history with the detached curiosity of someone watching a raccoon try to unlock a car door. No shouting, no theatrics, just pure polished sarcasm layered over undeniable facts. She reconstructed the timeline, exposed the contradictions, and let the absurdity land on its own weight. It belonged to that collective realization that Trump is the only political figure capable of losing public image battles no one asked him to start. He creates the hurricane and then brags about surviving it while still standing in the middle of the storm holding broken umbrellas. Kimmel and Maddow simply showcase what already exists, one with fireworks, one with ice, and somehow it keeps getting funnier every time.